I think in doing the magazine, and hopefully you guys got a chance to see the magazine cover there, that's talking about networking and how important networking is in phases of our lives. I think the most important thing to ask from the beginning is, what does networking mean to you? Who wants to start off? If you don't volunteer, I'll just pick you.
I'll go ahead and
Kelly.
volunteer.
Kelly.
So I'll tell you, networking means to me the fact that, Tiffany, you make a connection, and you make a meaningful connection, and that connection and that relationship that you start to build needs to be authentic, real, and really finding a common ground, something that you can both speak about. And I think it's about putting yourself out there. It's scary sometimes to walk into a room and not know one single person. I can draw on my experiences of being new to Cleveland and coming into, and you do have to put yourself out there and be very warm and welcoming. And I think the most important thing with networking is that you have that golden smile, and that's the universal language that we all speak.
I would agree. I agree with you, Kelly. I think it's important, and I do recognize that it is somewhat anxiety-producing when you walk into a room or a new group of people and you really don't know. But
Like this?
Like this. But these are warm faces
Yes.
here. But I think the power behind networking is really being genuine and really being an active listener, so really you can gain from those relationships that you're starting to build and gain some knowledge to apply to your daily practice.
What about you, Debbie? What does networking mean to you?
I think I'm the mom of 2 college kids, and I think what I've tried to instill in them in an era where, if you watched the Today Show yesterday, they described this kind of action that's going on with our younger generation. They're so busy texting and emailing that they forget about the power of looking someone in the eye and building a relationship face to face. So my biggest rule of thumb is I still write handwritten thank you notes. Mm-hmm. I make phone calls in lieu of emails as much as possible. And while that may seem old-fashioned, I believe you build relationships one person at a time, not one organization at a time. And I really think we're in danger as a culture of this because it doesn't work the same way. And whether it's your friend or your children, your internal relationships or your external relationships. I'm actually here today because of Fred Corey. I mean, we went to college together, and we wouldn't have stayed in touch for all these years if it would have just been on email. So it's about lunch and conversations that are meaningful, not just surface.
What about you, Margaret?
I would say that the word networking sort of is a dirty word. It's people have a very powerful negative reaction to the word networking. It somehow means this: I'm going to go in and get all I can and take advantages. I don't know how we conjure it up, but I think networking, at its core, is something that you have to define for yourself in terms of how you value that and how you value people. And, I've been at networking events where I've almost felt discarded by people, like, oh, I'm not the right this or the right that, or, I don't have the thing that they're looking for. And, I'm always looking for interesting people.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's about collecting interesting people and learning things that you don't know. And sometimes much later, the dots will all connect for you. So it's so important to be present, and I think I've heard that from everybody.
In my field, I go out and meet people, different people every day, usually on their worst day. So when I heard networking, I will admit, I got a little intimidated by being up on this panel. I'm not this, I'm not that, like this. And I was talking to my mom, who was my dearest and deepest mentor. And you don't judge a book by the cover, because you never know who you're talking to, who you're looking at. That person could be homeless. That person could be the richest of the rich. You should be able to talk to anybody on any level. And I have found that in my career, just being nice to people, treating them with respect, that doesn't mean if you're having a rough day, you can't, say, hey, back off a little bit. But it has truly helped me in my career in terms of following along with that news director, or I've got a job because that person said she was so nice. And I said, really? I was that nice? but I think that really goes to make a difference. My mom would always say it takes more energy to act ugly than to be nice. So for me, networking is going out in the field and meeting people from all different walks of life. And who knows, I may need to call them up and say, hey, do you have a story idea, or how can I help you this way? So that's how it's worked for me.
Tiffany, I love that.
What?
Takes
Which one?
more
Energy to
energy
act ugly.
to be ugly than to be
To-
nice.
to be
I love
nice.
that. I'm going to add that.
At it. And you know what else?
My
I got
repertoire.
another one. This came
Isms.
to me about 2 years ago. I'm too blessed to be stressed.
Yeah,
When you
that's
find
very
yourself
true.
complaining, there's always somebody else who has it worse than you. So I'm too blessed to be stressed.
I like
You got to
that.
work on that.
Don't you agree, though, it's not, as I've learned over time, it's not the big moments. It's not what you think it's going to be. It's all those little things that happen over the course of time. And that's another thing about sort of my kids. It's like these things take time. They're not done overnight. They're not done at one event. And it's all those little moments where it's a quick phone call, a quick thank you. It's just authentic. And I think at the end of the day, anything less than authentic just doesn't work. So,
You know, Tiffany, I was at an event last week, and it was not in the city of Cleveland, it was in Chicago. And so I walked into the room, and there was a lady there, and she gave me the elevator eyes and looked me up and down. And
Elevator eyes. I've never heard of that.
that's a good one.
So,
She should have been taking the stairs then.
so, you know, and she had a new buzzword. She had a look on her of like, oh, who is this? And so it didn't make me feel welcomed, and I could have retreated. I think in my previous years, I would have retreated or felt very uncomfortable. I will tell you that it was an uncomfortable feeling at first, but then I thought, I'm going to win. I'm going to win her over. I'm going to figure out what's the connection that we can make. And guess what? At the end of that day, we spent 8 hours together. We've made a connection. We found common ground, and we're networking. We just talked to one another yesterday. And so first impressions are very important. So I talk about the smile. You know, our executive presence is a buzzword that's used a lot, right? But really, it's about our personalities and showing our true, authentic, and genuine self.
Kill people with
Absolutely.
kindness. I call that kill people with kindness. I remember when I first started off, and I was in West Palm Beach, and there was a group of girls on the weekend. It was kind of a clique, and I didn't know the computer system very well, and I had written my story, and I said to the producer, here's my story, and she said, you know what, you need to add that other part of the story that was in earlier in the week, and I said, well, I don't know how to use a computer system. Could you help me with that? She goes, listen, we are not going to write your package for you. Now, what I wanted to say, I won't say, but I said, you know what? I took a moment, I caught my breath, I said, and I remember her name, Becky. You always remember the names, right? I said, Becky, I said, I don't expect you to write my package, that's my job. What I would like to do is make a great story for your newscast. Changed her whole demeanor, and from that day, she never treated me that way. So I think that's important too. What people have been, I mentioned my mom, people have been, you know, the mentors in your life who've kind of set the stage or the path. Who wants to take that first?
I will.
You will? Okay.
So I've been fortunate enough. So as you mentioned, I've been at the clinic, you know, well over 20 years. And so I've been afforded many mentors from, you know, physician colleagues, clearly to our nurse colleagues. And really, you've learned a lot. You know, I really believe that everybody has a special talent that they bring to the table.
Absolutely.
I really believe that. And I think that you can take something away from everyone. Clearly, I've seen who I want to emulate. And unfortunately, there are some informal mentors who I do not. And so clearly you learn from that, and you learn from your experience. And I have to tell you, there are certainly mentors I have outside of the healthcare industry who've really shaped who I am today as a leader. And they are really some of my closest friends today. So I've been very fortunate to have them as mentors.
I think in my case, I started my own business, so mentors weren't as plentiful necessarily. It was kind of lonely for a long time. So mentors for me came in all shapes and sizes. Probably started with my parents, who told us that we could do anything we want if we set our mind to it. It sounds cliche, but it is the truth. If you work hard, there's not anything in the world you can't do. I went to Bowling Green. I'm not going to say my GPA or my ACT scores because they're not that impressive.
Those things don't matter anymore.
They don't matter.
What I love is that I am a product of work hard and dream big, and you can do anything. So I've found mentors along the way, from somebody that manages a restaurant to, it doesn't mean they have to be CEO or whatever. I have mentors within my office. Some of them are here today, which is awesome. Thanks, guys, for coming. I learn something from everyone that I surround myself with. So in a big organization, sometimes it may be easier to find that, but go searching, because it's worth it. It's worth the effort. You really can't take away things from just about everyone you meet.
So I say you can learn something from everybody. Little nugget.
You absolutely do. My mom and dad are my mentors. That's they built the foundation of who I am today. And then, especially in the Ritz-Carlton, we're very much based on mentors and role models. And I think for any organization that has that buddy system, if you will, is so very important. And, you know, mentorship just doesn't mean that you are the senior leader. Mentorship can be peer-to-peer. And it's very, or it could be subordinate to, and I don't like that word, but you know, it's definitely, anybody in your organization could be a mentor and to help and assist you. And I definitely, as you ladies have said, I've learned a lot of the great leadership role models. And then, thank goodness, I have had those that were a little different, and maybe I wouldn't take that approach in leadership. So I learned from that, and I think that's helped shape me. And I'm very fortunate to have not only female role models, but male role models.
What about you, Margaret?
I always talk about a boss I had, Charles Pearson, who was really instrumental in growing me. He had high expectations for me and was just a wonderful mentor. And I can remember working for him and him asking me, you know, what's next in your career, and really encouraging me to move forward. I really loved being a number two, and so as he was talking to me, I kept thinking about, what is he, you know, wanting from me? But he was just an amazing encourager. And I have a new mentor, a woman by the name of Yvonne Pointer, who is an amazing woman, and she just allows me to, she's just opened myself up to be able to dream new dreams, and she's it's wonderful to see mentors who are just that far ahead of you. And there's some amazing women in this room who I am just like in awe of what they do. Rachel Talton, and they just blow me away, and I love being in their presence, you know.
It's a good energy, isn't it?
It's a good energy, and over the past year, I've really gotten to know Deb Donnelly, and she just blows me away, you know. She's just like this really cool woman who has had this amazing success, and yet she is able to navigate it in a way that I really admire. And so you're constantly looking for those women to sort of surround yourself around and, you know, play chess with and checkers with. And it's really, it's exciting. It's an exciting time to think about how I have impact and how I help other women have impact. Because when I think about the Kellys, they're women who are all about lifting up others, right? And so it's just great.
And Kelly, I was talking to you earlier about sometimes I find, maybe in younger years this might be the case, but sometimes you almost don't want to share your knowledge with other women because you feel like, well, if I give her information, she's going to have a one-up on me. And we talked about paying it forward and how important it is to share with other people. And you can have that inner confidence and know that you're okay, even with sharing with others what you've learned. Do you want to talk more about that?
Sure. I think we're all very competitive. We all want to get ahead. We all want that golden nugget, if you will. And I think it's so important that we help one another, we lift one another up, and we share that common ground. Yes, female to female, sometimes I think there's a perception that we can be catty with one another.
Sure.
And we've got to lead and have ladies that really are role models for us that show us the way, so we are networking in a very positive way.
Have any of you ever experienced that? You know, maybe cattiness, or, you know, someone who might not want to share?
No.
No? No, never. Someone who may not have wanted to share their knowledge with you for fear that you might
Claire.
get ahead of them. How do you handle that situation?
But I think sometimes cattiness comes from insecurity.
Insecurity, sure.
So I always try, when I meet that person, I love that. The elevator, what did you call it? The
Elevator eyes?
Yes.
Elevator eyes, yeah.
And I almost feel like when you begin to feel that cattiness, you kind of look for the insecurity. And I think when you start to do that, you can uncover something genuine in people. And so I've learned more from those situations which were awkward and kind of uncomfortable, because you learn something about yourself and then you learn something about that person. And genuinely, if you work at it, you can turn that around.
Absolutely.
And I've definitely found that to be kind of a very interesting part of my day, because we do a lot of work with clients, and they're of every shape and size and color and gender, and that's our job, is to get to the core of who we're sitting across the table from quickly. And I think it's an art, and I think you can't teach it, but you can surround yourself with people who kind of do it that way.
I wanted to say that I am an introvert who has acquired some extroverted skills.
I like the way you said that.
But my natural tendency is as an introvert. At the end of the day, I need to go in my bedroom and close my door.
Sure.
At about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I start sunsetting. I've used all my words. My 3 young adult children can all look at me like, no, she's not there. She's no longer there. And so because I am an introvert, I can tend to have a little bit of an aloofness to me. I don't necessarily have to sort of put myself out, and sometimes people can have different reactions to me. And so I have learned through feedback from people that, I can come off as aloof, that I've learned to really extend myself to help others feel comfortable in that initial meeting, because I'm perfectly fine with hi.
Hi.
You know?
I remember when I first met you. We did an interview. We were talking about Dr. Maya Angelou had passed away, and I first met you. I noticed that you were a little quiet, and I probably came in with this ball of energy in this time frame, but I could appreciate that. You just kind of step back.
It takes me a minute
It's
to
okay.
to warm
Like
up
fine
and
wine, yeah?
to process, and I'm a thinker. I often will not jump out and speak right away. I will think about what I want to say, and people often have a reaction to that. What is she thinking? Where's she going? Where's she going? And so it's not quite cattiness, but sometimes it gets in that lane a little bit.
I'm a working mom, and it can be challenging. News is very challenging, and like I said, most news isn't positive. How do we find time, as I look at my husband who's getting video of this? Hi, honey, how are you? Dropped off our daughter. How do you find time for yourself? Because I find like I go, and then I'm like, Kevin, I'm going to get a 2-hour massage. It's that time. It's been like a 3-month spin. You give so much to so many other people. How do you find time for yourself?
Oh, it's hard.
That was a pause right there.
So I think, also a mother of 2, and obviously busy demands from our roles. It's hard. But I think you need to find the time and really have that work-life balance. I know a lot of people talk about that. But what I find important, particularly with connecting with friends, I have a small group of friends that we've been together over the years, and we really all are very busy professional women doing a lot of different things and have competing priorities, but we do make the time to spend together, go on these little weekend trips.
Weekend trips? How can I do that? Are you listening? Weekend trips. Weekend trips. I just want like 5 hours of solid sleep. That's all I want.
That doesn't happen that often, maybe once every 2 years. But it is so important. It's important to connect with yourself and make sure you keep that relationship with yourself full.
I think my priority has always been my children and my family. I am really the most proud of my 3 kids, and they're very busy. And I would encourage everyone to keep your priorities in check. And oftentimes that means that you fall to the bottom. And I've done that many, many times. And that's not a good place. And you have to be very conscious of kind of what your needs are and pulling yourself up. I turned 50 3 weeks ago.
Give me some of that water you're drinking. Awesome. Well, you didn't know this is your surprise party. Happy birthday. Happy belated birthday.
But I do think turning 50, I'm calling it my weed the garden phase. And that doesn't mean I don't love people and that I don't want to have relationships. But I also think it's important to sort of look at your relationships and make certain that they're healthy. Because I tend to I have a big posse, and I want to help everybody. And there's sometimes that really affects me as a person, as a mom, as an owner of a business. And I think it's really, really important to always prioritize. Keep yourself on the list. It has to be on the list. My lowest times, I think, in my life, and there have been many, have been those times that I have forgotten about that. And I think it's important to remember that.
Justin's out in the audience. He's waving like this. You know what that means? That means we have questions. Justin, you have some people who might have some questions for our panel?
If you got questions, please raise your hand. I'll come over to
I
you.
know you have questions.
Post some great questions for the
I
panel.
wanted to add about some me time.
Yes.
I think.
What, this is the introvert? No.
Yeah, I know.
So wait,
I
this is
learned something
Sonia.
new about you. I know. I should
She's
know
warming
that.
up.
It's true. It's true. I have learned extroverted
Yes.
skills. So just jumping off of what Deb said, when I am, tired, hungry, angry, those are just situations where I just spiral down, and I really do need that significant, me time, and I think it's really, really valuable. And many of you in this room know I've lost probably maybe about 95 pounds over the last 3 years. And,
Congratulations.
Look, tell me that secret.
Yeah.
it's been a process really about being focused on myself and taking that time to work out and prioritize myself, at the same time still placing a very high value on my husband of 30 years and my 3 children and my faith. And it just is important to be whole and healthy. And that doesn't come accidentally.
No.
You really have to, with intentionality, make that work, and it's worth it because everybody gets a better you. Your family gets a better you, and your colleagues get a better you, and it's you're just able to do so much more than you can ever dream when you spend that time
On you.
on you. And I love coloring.
Now, do you stay in the lines, or do you just kind of get out of lines a little bit?
I do both. It's very relaxing for me. And so I both doodle and have coloring books. And I just started telling people this.
We just did a story on this last night on the news. Adult coloring. Yes. I read it. Adult coloring. Yes.
I love to, it is, I don't know
What it is.
what it is. I love to color and draw and do, but I'm no good.
It's probably
That's
therapeutic,
It
right?
is therapeutic. It's like
Yes.
gardening and weeding, and it is therapeutic. So I encourage
Have
you
to
to
try
color.
coloring. Some
I
people
like that.
You go ahead and color. I'm going to schedule that massage.
That's great. That's
How
great.
about that? Where did Dustin go?
I'm back here. Tiffany,
Okay.
we have our first question.
First question. Let's give a round of applause for our first
Yay.
question. We're all ears.
My name is Jane Flaherty, and I'm from Pepper Pike.
Hi, Jane.
And I am so excited to be here and listening to you four women. It's very impressive. One thing that Ms. Mitchell said, it really got me. In the last 6 months, I have really learned that where I'm so exhausted, when I'm totally drained, and I'm so mad at myself because I can't do more, and I realized I'm an introvert. I need to take my time and calm down, and I only come to these now when I am ready to talk. But that has been a life changer for me. To take a test, there was a book I loved called Networking for People Who Hate Networking. And there was a little test on there, and I'm actually a centrovert, whatever. But it really gave great ideas, more importantly, on learning for yourself how to keep your energy, how to know when to be out. But it was really how you started your comment, Ms. Mitchell, was how people might reply to you. I also am a thinker. Introverts think a lot more before they speak. And a lot of times people think, oh, well, she's not going to say anything? Okay, fine. And that's not it. I always sometimes feel late to the game because I don't think about what I want to say until later. And this book or learning anything about being an introvert or an extrovert has really helped me understand me better, but more importantly, I'm sensing people better when I first meet them. And I'm getting that, and I'm like, well, this just could be their inherent ability. They take a little more time, or they say hello right away and don't stop talking, or they this, or they, and it's been very helpful. And you bringing that up into the open, because most people call me an extrovert. The second thing I wanted to say is one of the parts about this book that I had finished that talked about introverts was introverts will talk a lot when they feel comfortable, when you get them started. And so I'm smiling because you're starting to talk about crayoning and coloring.
You guys should start a club, huh?
But that's a thing where you have control, and it's peace, and it's deep, and it lets you express quietly for you. And so that's a cool thing that you're doing it, but it was cooler that you started talking about it because you're feeling better. But anyway, I wanted to say thank you so much for bringing up that introvert-extrovert issue. It's a gigantic one, and statistically, by the way, 50 to 70% of people are introverts.
Yep, I believe. Yep.
So
Thank you.
we always hear from the extroverts who are only 30%, but 50 to 70%. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice question.
Next comment or question? Over here.
Yes. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Morning.
Excuse my voice, I have a bug, but my name is Daphne Tyus. I'm from the Cleveland Fire Department.
Hi, Daphne Tyus. Thank you for what you do.
And ladies, first of all, ladies, thank you for, it's very enlightening to hear you up there on the stage, what you're projecting towards. I'm really taking it in. My question is, how do you turn off your cerebral syntax when you're in charge? I go to sleep thinking what I got to do 2 days tomorrow. I can't seem like just sit down and not think about the challenges at work. So how do I, is this normal? Because
It's perfectly normal. I can answer that one.
my mind,
Constantly going. That's perfectly
is that
normal.
a normal or?
It's very normal.
Very
That's
normal.
That's my question.
That's your resting time. I say I'm going to take my bath. Everybody leave
Right.
me alone. That doesn't necessarily work that way. But that's when that's when I find myself kind of taking in the whole day, and then I find 5 more things that I need to do. But you have to cut it off at some point, because for me, I just news in my head and kids and everything else, you'll go crazy. But you have to just take that time, whether it's your bath time, reading a book. Just give yourself at least 20. I try to get 30, just to kind of decompress and say, that will be taken care of. Tomorrow will go on, that will be taken care of, because otherwise you'll have a whole laundry list and you'll never get rest.
Well, that's small amount of time. So what I do is the 30-minute drive that I have home is in complete silence.
Good
So I don't talk on the phone usually. No radio, no nothing, honestly. And I do this every day, and it's my time to kind of decompress and get ready to be present when I'm home with my family, because that's so important.
Very well said. And I'll be very vulnerable with you. I had an issue, and that issue is I'm a workaholic. And so if I don't share
Wait,
that-
we gotta write this down.
Work-a-like
The
it.
elevator, look up and down, and the
Sorry,
work
sorry.
alike it. I'm writing
Work-a-like
this
it.
down.
So I enjoy, I have a passion for what I do. And so I always want to be present. I always want to be there. And I'll tell you, that's not a great role model for our ladies and gentlemen for the future in our hotel company or any business. So I've really had to work hard. And Margaret, I know you and I share some similarities where we have to take time for ourselves. And I had to have a big come to Kelly moment, which is, all right, you're new to Cleveland. What are you going to do? And that was, first and foremost, I'm going to take care of my family and friends and be present with them. I'm going to take care of my ladies and gentlemen. That's all of my staff. So I have 241 grown adults that I take care of every day. I also have owners that I have to take care of, right? And then the vendors and the support. But then also, I need to take care of me. And so losing 50 pounds, not 95 yet, but losing 50 pounds was important to me, right?
Wonderful.
Thank you. Working out. All right, I'm up to 3 workouts a day. I'm trying to get my backside to the gym at 5 a.m. That's a lot.
That's
but
a
that's
lot.
my decompressed time. I'm going to get 4. It's going to come.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, taking that time to work out, and I turn on the tunes because I really want to have some great time and inspiration, if you will. Sundays are my day to relax and rest. I'll be available for a phone call, but my team knows, let her be. Let her have her
Leave her
time, and
alone.
they respect that. And you know what? The faith is so important, and doing what I want to do. And massage, I'm with you,
We
girlfriend.
are booking it. We are booking it. Right,
So,
right after we finish this, we are
absolutely.
booking it.
But you feel so good about it. And even if it's getting your nails done or your toes done,
Yeah.
guess what? That's a wonderful feeling of taking care of you.
Taking care of you. I think we have.
I think you asked about going to sleep though, because I require very little sleep. For
Oh.
whatever reason, I'm a
I'm jealous.
5-hour a
Me
night
too.
person, but I'm a list person. I think long before ADD became diagnosed, I'm sure I have it. So I've created a workaround for myself, which involves paper, and people from VOCON that are here know that I don't use an iPad. I have to write everything down, and next to my bed is an XOXO, because that's the way I sign all my emails, pad. And so when I wake up in the middle of the night and I have a thought about my kids or something I have to do, there's a pen and a paper. I write it down, and it seems to help me go right back to sleep, because my mind was very, very cluttered, probably because of the way my mind works. And it has definitely helped me it's just a little tool for me that makes me sleep better, because I do think you can get rattled and your brain doesn't settle
too much
down
in there.
before you go to sleep. And I think all these suggestions are great. But sometimes I come from email to my bed, and it's like, okay, your head is not quite in this situation it should be. So I think the pad of paper works well for me.
We got a question or a comment, concern.
My name is Lori Anderson. I'm from Cleveland Clinic.
Good morning.
Good morning, Lori.
My question for you ladies is, one, when you have moved up, when did you know you plateaued? Or when did you know it was time to take the next step? And then two, what resources did you use to help you make that next step? How did you know it was time to transition, and what did you do? Who did you use? How did you know?
I think you should, news is a little bit different. I think you should never get too comfy in your job, too comfortable. So you should always, and maybe this might sound bad, but you should always be looking, because you never know. I mean, there's so many changes in news. I get my guidance from the good Lord upstairs. I'm always, when is this? It's going to happen. That doesn't mean you're lazy and don't do the things you need to do, but I also go off of my gut feeling, my stomach. I think everybody has that. Some people choose to ignore it. But when your stomach tells you something's right or not right, my advice is to always listen to it. And that has been very valuable in my career. I remember it was in West Palm, and my dad, he's since passed, but my dad, he was an obstetrician gynecologist, and he was on dialysis for kidney, and kept going. Something told me, and Kevin had proposed to me, and something said, I'm not going to re-sign this contract. That meant I was going to be out of a job, but something said it's not right. And probably a month after or 3 weeks after I left that job, my dad went into the hospital. 4 months later, he passed away. Had I been working there, I wouldn't have had time to be at his side when he was passing away. So I think it's so important, at least for me, that I've learned to listen to your gut. That kind of guides you. And at least that's been helpful for me. And then always that whole networking. You never know when you may, that person you met 5 years ago at one station may have moved on to another station, and they could be hiring and looking, and they can call you up and say, hey, are you ready for the job? So that's kind of how it's worked for me in news. I don't know if anybody else goes off of their guts or their feeling.
No, definitely. I was going to comment. I think my journey's been somewhat non-traditional. So going into nursing, I really had no idea that I would be the chief nursing officer of the Cleveland Clinic Health System one day. I did not have that planned. So clearly things just happened along the way. And I think really going with my gut instinct, if it was the right thing to do for me at the time personally and professionally, and also really relying on some of my mentors for advice on, is this really the direction you want to go? Think about everything where you're at right now in your life, and is this where you want to go? And so it's just been really a journey and great support, but really going back to your gut instinct, I think, is very important, at least for me.
Have you ever found when you had a career opportunity or something coming up, I usually do a list of pros and cons, and I'm very visual, so I have to write it down and kind of map it out and see it out, and I know that's kind of helped me in my decision-making process.
I do think a couple of people have referenced it, but I lead my life with the whole concept of God does have a plan for me. And so every day I get up, and it's kind of like, what's going to happen today, and I need to accept it. And it doesn't shirk the responsibility, but what it does is even yesterday something happened, and I walked into Michelle's office, and I'm like, well, God has a plan. We were struggling with something, and here we were led to the right answer. Starting a New York office for me was really risky. Do I fit? Do I not? And the gentleman who ended up being our partner there was introduced to me by a dear friend who knew he would introduce me to the person who would run our New York office. My entire career has been about the journey, and someone else is in control. I'm simply kind of accepting what's happening to me, and I really do believe that there's, maybe that doesn't resonate with everyone, but it has been the center of my life, really, and my career, so.
Absolutely agree.
And I've had great mentors that have said, Kelly, you've got to go for this next career journey. This is what you've got to do. And they've been my cheerleaders and my support. And I'll tell you, when I was moving from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles to be at our hotel there, I was nervous. And I thought, I'm not the LA girl. I don't know that I can do this. What's LA like? It's such, time zones away. What can I do? And so I had people that believed in me. And I think having the faith and the belief from the support system that you have and the surrounding yourself with great people helping. And then, I was never ready. I felt in all my years with Ritz-Carlton, I felt like I was never ready for that next journey. But I had those cheerleaders saying, yes, you are. You just don't know it. We believe in you. And guess what? They've been right every time. I didn't have the aspiration of ever being a general manager. I wanted to be a rooms executive for my entire career with the Ritz-Carlton, because those were the fun people. Well, guess what? Now the fun people are the general managers and our sales team, right, team?
Yes, yes,
So-
they're over there.
So I think that's a little bit, believing and taking that leap, and it's a risk, right? But one thing that I was very happy about was when I had the opportunity where a mentor of mine said, and a female mentor said, you got to go to Cleveland. I was there as a rooms executive. She's now a general manager, by the way, at our Ritz-Carlton in Central Park. She said, you got to do Cleveland. It's going to be a great journey for you as a general manager. That was her first role as a general manager as well. So you can see the power of that networking. She told me about Leadership Cleveland. Oh, those are great people to get involved with. And so it's just evolved. And we talk probably every other month. We see each other at conferences, and we check in with one another. We know a lot of the same people, and so it's a wonderful experience.
Do we have another?
Next question right here.
Next question.
Hi, thanks for
Hi.
talking with us today. It's been
No
great to
problem.
hear what you have to say. My question is twofold, but it is all about sort of the same topic. Number one, I have a lot of strong feelings and opinions about equality in the workplace. And I find that when I am networking, I want to talk about that because I think that we have to bring awareness to it, and people don't talk about it in regular business settings, but other people find that off-putting. And so I guess I'm looking for advice on how can I talk about that? I mean, I know I'm not supposed to talk about politics, but this doesn't seem that political to me. So how can I talk about that and, in a gentle way? And then secondly, I was curious, what have been your experiences with equality in the workplace and the, glass ceiling? And then also about this, I also run into women a lot who don't believe that there is inequality in the workplace, and I struggle talking with them about it as well. And I don't have a very good response, I guess, sometimes for them.
Who wants to answer that one?
It's about inclusion. Thank you for your question. I think it's about inclusion. And I have two examples, if I may. And the Ritz-Carlton Cleveland is part of the Western region of our company. And so there are 16 properties in the Western region, and I'm the only female general manager. So here's the thing. It's amazing how the other general managers treat me. They treat me like I'm their sister. They treat me like they want to nurture me. They want to care for me. So I feel very, very special. I feel very elevated and VIP. And I'm very blessed in our organization. But I will share with you, I was in LA around a boardroom table of 15 gentlemen. Now, I was seeing it as a meeting, and we were coming to the common greater good to achieve something. And there was one gentleman that raised his hand and spoke very loudly and said, Kelly, do you realize that you are the only female in this room? So then I wanted to retreat in my shell. But my response was, yes, and aren't I fortunate? So it's always thinking about the positive side. I get a little leery, or I'm very cautious about, making sure about saying the word equality. I think it's about more inclusion and of everyone and welcoming everyone. And I'll tell you, the gentlemen that are here today, you all need a round of applause because you are brilliant about being here.
Absolutely. We should have them stand, huh? Why don't you stand?
Please
Let's
stand.
see the gentlemen in the room. Go ahead and
there you
stand. Go ahead, it's okay, stand. Don't
Gentlemen,
make me
you need
come
to
out in the
stand. Come
audience.
on, we wanna
Stand
celebrate
up. I see them. Thanks for being here. Those are our men. Thank you.
Now,
Glad you
how
said
did
that.
those gentlemen get so shy?
Yes.
So I have to tell you, I celebrate you, we all celebrate you, because you care enough to get in the psyche and understand and want to understand what makes women tick. What can we do to be better? How can we network?
That might be a whole different conversation, Kelly.
That is a whole.
I was just going to say, I think it's so important. We've reached this point where we need more women in more places, and policing is an example of where I think we need more women. Community policing is really going to improve by having more women on police forces. When you look at deadly force, when you compare deadly force with men and women, women have almost no incidence of deadly force. And it's so important that we increase the numbers of women within our fire departments and our police departments, because their approaches to the work is absolutely needed and vital, and we're all suffering because women are not in those roles. And when you look at the data, public companies that have numbers of women on their boards perform better. When you look at general managers, the data is there. Warren Buffett has spoken extensively about the role of women and the need to have more women within all ranks. And I just think that it's so important, and it's time. It's really time, and it's critical that it is men who are also extending their hands and and the door and opening it. And I think as men see their daughters and their wives and their family and friends as people who should have opportunity, that's where we're going to continue to see the shift. And I think it's important not to beat people, but to encourage people to engage in this conversation and think differently. We have to recognize our unconscious bias. We do prefer to be around people who look and sound like ourselves. And we have to push past that with a level of intentionality that can be slightly uncomfortable, but it's so important to do.
And that's what I love about my job. I get to
Very
yes,
well
give a
said.
round of applause. I'm glad you said that, because in my job I'm able to meet all different people from all different walks of life, and I just love hearing their story. And like I said, even if it's a sad story, I'm able to share their story, and that's so important that you step outside of your comfort zone, because you can get very stagnant and very, stale, so to speak. So it is important to kind of say, okay, I'm going to maybe say hi to this person that I might not say hi to. And you tend to learn a little bit more that way. Oh, I see Dustin there. He's waving me.
Next question.
Next question. We're ready.
Good morning, ladies
Good
of
morning.
excellence.
I like that. Does that sound good? Ladies of excellence.
My name is Monica Baker, and I'm from Northern Ohio Recovery Association. And my question is, can you share one book that has contributed to your success or has grounded you to get to your level of success? So break out your pens and papers.
Anybody?
Well, I'll begin. There's been quite a few, but one comes to mind. It's called The First 90 Days. I don't know if many of you had an opportunity to pick that up, but really what it helps, particularly for a leader in a new role, it really helps you look at what do you do in the first 90 days. It's not really specific to women in leadership, but it really does speak of some elements of leadership and what you need to do to really set yourself up to be successful and connect with your team. So I really enjoyed that.
All of my books right now are children-oriented, so forgive me. It's not Dora the Explorer or Spider-Man. I suppose you can learn some things in those books as well.
I just read a book recently called Own the Room. I apologize, I don't know the author of it, but it's about creating your own personal signature voice and presence. And it's an easy read, it's a fun read, and it's really about this networking and how do I go about really having, it's not about your elevator speech, but what is my personal presence and how can I really, come to a common ground and develop meaningful relationships.
I too am not a huge reader. I'm not gonna lie. And where's Megan Fleming? Megan Spinos in the room from VoCon. She just turned me on. Instagram is a big deal for my kids. Simon Simic, and you can see Megan. Raise your hand, Megan. If you guys want to link up and follow him, it's things that Deb Donnelly can read. They're about they're in red background, white print. They're about 12 words a day, and they have been amazing. I have to say, so for me, it's about the snippets because I'm in How to Get a B Student into College mode right now. That's the book that's in next to my nightstand. You know what? My husband's encouraging me to do books on tape, so I apologize for not being able to answer the question. The Bible's always great, I have to say.
That's
right.
I don't want to dismiss that because thanks to Fred, he's gotten me reading that again, and it's been great. So, sorry about not being more. I would just want to be honest.
We are honest. That's
right.
what it's all about,
Good for you.
being honest and sharing our
I'm
information.
a compulsive reader, so I read all
Thank
the time.
God you're carrying us through this.
When you're not busy coloring, right?
But I'm not busy coloring. I am reading. I have several books all going at one time. This whole year I've been studying the life of Moses, so now I'm reading Deuteronomy, which is an amazing chapter in the Bible. I'm also reading Follow Me by David Platt, and I am reading this book by a gentleman named Seth, and like your book, it's the title of the book is You're Up Next, and You're Always Up Next, and I'm really enjoying that book also.
We have time for one last question
Oh,
from
the
the
final
audience.
question? Is it gone by that fast? Oh,
And
wow.
then we'd love for you to do some wrap up with them as
Some
well.
wrap up, okay.
Hello, my name is Destina Moga, and I'm from Le Chaperon Rouge.
Hi.
My question is actually for Kelly, and
Which Kelly? There's two Kellys.
Kelly from the Ritz-Carlton.
Okay.
Miss Kelly,
Yes.
we've been in business for 32 years, and one of the backbones of our story is the importance of our employees being so happy. And when we have happy teachers, we have happy children, and in turn have happy parents. Part of that is also with the Ritz-Carlton, and with you being there so long and doing such a fine job, how does being in that kind of environment influence your personal growth and with other people, like with your peers and your family at home?
I'm fortunate. Thank you for your question. I'm very fortunate to be with a team of professionals that we have fun every day we come
You
to
do,
work.
and when we have stayed with you often, and when we have the privilege to stay with you, it has always been a very positive experience.
Thank you.
And it is lovely to know that we have instilled, and I've read the book with the ladies and gentlemen and the concept of the Ritz-Carlton, and we have adhered to some of those policies at Le Chaperon Rouge, that when your staff is feeling good and encouraged and empowered and inspired, then the kids, it trickles down with the kids, and it does provide a really healthy environment. And like I said, what I wanted to see is how that has changed your personality going into being there so long.
It's definitely changed my personality in a very, very positive way, and inspiring. I have our team members inspire me for greatness and excellence every day, and that relentless commitment to make it impactful. So I really, appreciate the work environment that we have, and I think it's helped make me be the leader and who I am today because of all of that. Thank you very much.
Dustin, I think we want to wrap this up. It's gone by so quickly. I'm having so much
It
fun.
always does. I know we could take probably another dozen questions or so, but we'd love to hear, really some inspirational thoughts from each of you on what really drives you forward into tomorrow. I think from your perspective, Tiffany, it would be wonderful to hear, what you're doing. You're on TV every day. People see you. You're a public figure. But what drives you to really inspires you to be greater tomorrow? What do you look to do that?
I look forward to meeting different people from all different walks of life, sharing their story. Oftentimes I have maybe 2 minutes to convince someone that it's okay to talk to me and to share their story, knowing that I have that 5 o'clock deadline. I look forward to being a mom, look forward to being a wife. Although I am on TV and I'm right there front and center, I tend to be a private person, and I like to have my private time. But I just like the adventure that God gives me. Tomorrow is never promised, and I want to share that with people. I didn't know that I would go here. I shared that with Kelly. Next Wednesday will be what would have been one of my daughter's 4th birthdays. And I always thought I had everything figured out, and I was always appreciative to God or a higher power of whatever you would think of. Thank you for giving me this day. But it's not until you have to bury your own child that you realize that tomorrow isn't promised. So I just want to encourage you, without being a Debbie Downer, I want to encourage you to live every day, every moment. Just when you think you can't get out of the bed, or you're having a rough day, or you think you're having a rough day, there's always somebody else who's having a rough day, and just enjoy that moment. Live it, breathe it, see it, and become it. That's what I guess I would like to say.
Beautifully said.
Steve Kelly Hancock, same question to you. What inspires you from your position? It's easy to look back, but to look forward. What inspires you to tomorrow that gives you that strength to go in there and do greater tomorrow?
Well, I think, a couple of things. First, I think some advice would really to keep grounded in the work that you do every day, no matter what the work is. And so for me, my work and my professional life clearly is healthcare. And so when you really stop and think about it, when I stop and think about it, what an awesome responsibility to provide health care for those in need. And so each and every day I try to keep that focus, that patient-centric approach, and it keeps me grounded in the work and true to who I am. But most importantly, too, when you're looking at the holistic piece of your personal and professional life, you really have to look at your family and count your blessings, because they keep you grounded. And they really are my inspiration, personally and professionally.
Debbie?
I think, there's lots of that, but I think the key to my personality is to always stay humble. I'm inspired every day by getting up in the morning and knowing that a simple hello, the way I approach somebody in my office can really be a game changer for them, and it happens literally every day. I'm inspired to make my family proud of me. Having kids that are going to be entering the workforce right now, you set an example not by your words, but by your actions and the way you behave and the way you treat others. And I agree with you. I lost my dad really suddenly years ago, and you realize that, boy, I could get in my car right now and this could be it. And what are people going to say about me? They're not going to talk about the buildings I did or the designs that we did all over the place. They're going to talk about me as a human being. And that's what inspires me to get up out of bed every day and be just better than I was yesterday. So,
Kelly?
I think, making my family and my friends very, very proud of my accomplishments. But I really think it's about the fact that, I've had great successes, but it's time for me to pay it forward. It's time for me to invest, and I do this every day. My team will attest to this. I will always put others first and be genuine and caring. I will take time to mentor those female leaders at all levels of our organization, and even in different countries and even in different cities throughout the United States with our Ritz-Carlton team members. And so I want to inspire them. I want them to sit in my chair. Not that I do a lot of sitting. I want them to be a general manager. I want there to be 14 lady general managers in the Western region at some point. I want to know that they can have it all. They can have the balance of their family and their friends and their relationships with their business and the professional organizations and being involved in the community.
Margaret, last word to you. What inspires you to think about how you're going to be greater tomorrow than what you've done yesterday and today?
I am inspired by challenge and difficulty and hardship. I love it when it's really, really complicated and you're in the trenches. I think that's where you really get to see who people are, and the work that we do is difficult. We work with homeless youth and homeless families, children under 5 who are homeless. We work with women executives and communities. We work at a system level around change, and that is all very, very difficult, hard work. And so I love being able to find inspiration in all of those people and also in the people that I work with. And it's just exciting every day to step forward and have another opportunity to have people reframe around their thinking about the lost, the last, and the least of us, and reframe around women.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we get a round of applause for this amazing panel?